Well, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. You are watching this on January 5th, 2026. It's our very first episode of this new year, and I am incredibly humbled and honored and excited to bring back to you the person who broke the bank, broke the internet when we interviewed him in 2025, and rightfully so, because the man I'm about to introduce to you again is someone who is single-handedly changing how we look at Black economic independence. He is starting in Ghana, but it is a message that is spreading. And although I am here in Texas, in the United States of America, his message is a message that I want us here in Texas to hear. And for all of you who are watching, we have people who are watching from, I think we're now in 25 different countries, certainly other countries in Africa as well. I want you to listen carefully to every word that comes out of this man's mouth, because I guarantee you that if you apply even one principle that he shares today, if you go and buy even one of his books and consistently apply what he's teaching, you will see a difference in your life. Let me tell you, I interviewed him in January of 2025. I, at that time, was employed by a law firm. And I did not want to start my own law firm because I just didn't feel that I wanted to take on that quote unquote headache. And as things started to unfold, I could hear his voice and I said, yes, there are things that I'm involved with in my ancestral home of Nigeria. I was born here in the United States, but my family home is in Nigeria as well. And there's work I'm doing there. But while I'm here, there's work I can be doing here, and I need to own my own business here. And sir, I have not said this to you personally, but I started my own law firm in April of 2025, and I did not borrow any money to get it started. I started with what I had. I did not want to go into any debt, and we are profitable. We are making a difference, and we are growing. But let me introduce you to everyone else who might be listening today.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone who can hear my voice, if you're listening on the radio station, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching live, or if you're watching later, tell us where you're listening from. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're downloading this on the podcast, this is Kwabena Obeng Darko. He is an African entrepreneur. He's an engineer. He's a speaker. He's an author. He's a Pan-Africanist. He's a historian. He's a truth speaker. He is a father. He is a husband. He is a builder of nations. His books include Perspective: How to Develop the Mindset to Start and Build Your Business, Streamline: How to Teach Yourself Money, and he has many other books. He shares his knowledge on African history and dignity. He shares his knowledge on entrepreneurship, financial education, personal development, because I don't care how much education you get, if you do not develop yourself personally, you are only going to be a slave to other people. He teaches about sales and systems, strategies, customer service, real estate. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Facebook. Just type in OBENG and then DARKO. He went to a Pokuware school. He holds a BSc in agricultural engineering. He also holds an MSc in bioprocess engineering. His business interests include, of course, engineering, construction, fashion accessories, real estate. He's teaching people about agriculture. He lives in Accra because he's smarter than those of us who are still out here in the diaspora getting insulted day and night. He lives in Accra with his wife, Marie, his very beautiful wife, Marie, and his children, Ya, Awura, and Kwabena. And like me, he also named his children our ancestral names instead of many of us who were educated not to use our own indigenous names, but to call ourselves the names of our colonizers. He has, the last time I checked, 8 books, probably more now. He will correct me. Um, and sir, it is a pleasure and honor to speak with you. I know it's very late where you are. Thank you so much for coming back to Rethinking Freedom.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you very much. And congratulations on your business. Wow.
It
That
is
is impressive.
just the beginning. I'm telling you, there's so much that has changed this year just from my little garden. I call it a garden, it's not a farm yet. Harvested over 200 pounds of potatoes. At this point, just giving it away because did not expect it, don't have a plan to make money from it yet, but that is coming. But sir, I know that your focus is on African dignity, entrepreneurship, financial education, personal development, systems thinking, sales, real estate, agriculture, and industry. Why this focus for you?
Thank you very much. And it's an honor to be back on your channel. We have moved the books from 8 to 13.
Ha!
And so our last book is Financial Systems. The difference between the systems that we operate in Africa, largely, and the rest of the world, particularly the West. And even as Africans, wherever we are, the doors that are open to us in terms of finance and power. Your legal person, the effort that we have to put in more than everybody else to have the same access as others. So knowing the difference in the systems, I think will break down a lot of things. So we teach what we teach because I think that many of the things that they have taught us as Africans, until we rethink them, there's not much that we can do with them. And that's why I don't stay with just one thing. It's not just about African consciousness or dignity, but personal development, financial education, entrepreneurship, and all the other things that I think would have to be looked at differently. Because some of our people can teach you finance, but they are teaching it as if we are in the places that they give you credit card and mortgage and car loans, you know, at 1% or 3% interest rate per year. In Ghana, that is not what we are experiencing. And so if I teach the young man from the university that come out of the university, come up with your own business plan, go and look for an investor, not many of us can assess that. But then, with different thinking, with different information, many of us can still begin something without some of this infrastructure. And that's what we teach in our books, on our channels, and even in our seminars as well. And these are the things that we also practice. You know, we run retail shops, we run real estate development companies, construction companies, and it's just the same mechanisms that we are using. Not strictly what they have taught us, but what we practice that are giving results. So that's why we teach what we teach, so that we can look at almost everything with a different eye because we are in a different situation.
I would say this, that one of the things that has held back Black people in the United States of America is the fact that although there are certain systems that exist here, they are not open to African Americans most of the time. So we
Mhm.
do not get, the banks do not give us the loans in the same way that they give white Americans.
Mhm.
And so the systems that you're saying are working, that you're teaching that are working in Ghana, are precisely the kind of thinking that we might need to be employing here. And that
Yeah.
actually is what you see many of the quote unquote immigrants who come to the United States using, whether you look at like the Asians, the Indians who come in, maybe even people from the Caribbean who are not going to the banks and going for the traditional loans because they know they can't get it, but they're
Mhm.
finding other creative ways. So I think your books and your methodologies are actually things that would work for Black people here in the United States of America, because the traditional ways are not working for us here.
Yeah. And the results, they speak for themselves.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, if you look at what you're doing in terms of finances, in terms of the businesses that you're building, economic empowerment, even ownership, what do we own? What businesses, what industries do we own? They show the kind of imbalances in the systems that we say we are part of. So and that's why I cannot teach the same thing as if we were in those systems and those systems were supporting us. And so we tell the young men, listen, you're looking for a job in Ghana. How many companies are open that are employing 1,000 people at a time? Not many. And so we are channeling out a lot of these graduates and telling them that once you come out, somebody will give you a job. I think you've been given some kind of education, but when you come out, you must find a way to make your education relevant. And that will mean that being able to think on your feet to find problems to solve for economic value. And that will call for different kind of orientation than what the primary, education or traditional education is put in almost all of us. So you have to challenge a lot of these core beliefs and come out and be somebody who can create your own part. And that's where some of the people come up with. Not every one of us can build a business. I say, not every one of us can be wealthy. But if you want to be wealthy, you and I know that if the person completes university and he doesn't have a job, and he still desires to be wealthy or have some kind of livelihood, the opportunities are there. That in any ecosystem, human beings, where they are eating, they are sleeping, they get sick, they go to school, the workload. That is where these are things that human beings need, and wherever human beings need something, there is an opportunity for somebody to become somebody. So I say that there are opportunities everywhere. It's just the eyes that we have to retrain them, so that our university people, especially, can look at the problems in their society and solve them without being without putting themselves above the level of solutions that they have to offer. Because when you complete university and they say that go and, let's say, produce okra on the farm, you may say that no, I deserve to wear suit and tie, sit in a bank in an air condition and be paid maybe 2,000, 3,000 cities. Meanwhile, your friend who didn't complete university at the SS level have workers working for him on the farm. So if you want to create wealth, which of you will be worthy? Or which of you would have worth? It's the one who is offering economic value. So it's not just your degree, but it's the economic value that you're able to create. And that will mean that getting to the ground and looking at the problems in the society and solving them without being shy, especially at the beginning.
So I noted that just a few days ago that you had a financial growth seminar, and I was looking at some of the pictures from that seminar. They looked like pictures that you would see from some kind of church revival. Those are usually where you see that number of people in an African setting. Either that or a celebrity showed up to give a concert or something. There were that many people there. The only difference is that people had pen and paper and they were, raptured, the really rapt attention. Um, what is this hunger, and what are some of the lessons that you were imparting to the attendees of that seminar that you can
Wow.
share with our audience?
Okay, so we normally have online seminars, and we'll be having a lot of them, and we do in-person seminars. So what you saw, financial growth seminar, was the last one in 2026, and no, 2025. And the unique thing about what we actually speak in P, we don't speak in English largely. Yes,
Wow. So you
yeah,
are teaching the seminars in the
yes.
indigenous language,
Language, yeah, one of the
making it
major languages.
accessible to everybody.
Yes, because the target is if you're not able to change the fundamentals, the people on the street, the people in the market, the people who are doing business, that's the only way that they can make livelihood. And many of them probably may not have higher education. Um, and you go there to speak English, what are you communicating? So we speak the language that I think the people can pick and understand, and then we speak in examples in the culture. So the examples that we are using are in the culture. So we are teaching these things in our language.
If I may, that's very interesting that you said that. Because I know that you study our culture and our history. You know, there's a writer who unfortunately recently made his transition, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who
Yes.
argued strongly for us reclaiming our languages and actually went back to writing his books originally in our own native tongues, and then they can be translated in other languages. So you are actually teaching the people in their first tongue.
Yes.
Hmm.
You see, the way to get the people to think logically and to think to be creative is the language that they were brought up in, the first language. People, I'm speaking English, but I'm translating in my head.
Yes.
I'm actually speaking P to you, but it's coming out as English. If you have to teach me anything, you have to teach me a language before you teach me whatever you're teaching me, received. And so the right import of what you're trying to give me will not be direct. And that's why we see significant improvement in the way the market woman is applying what we are saying, the way the doctor, the lawyer, the professor, the tractor driver, the taxi driver is applying what we are saying, because it's in the language that they don't have to struggle to explain to themselves. And the examples are in the culture. And I think that all African, African countries must have that, because the 80%, so-called 80% bottom. Because really, if you come to Ghana, how many people have degree? And the language of commerce in our country is not so-called English. Because and maybe 80 or more percent of the businesses in our country, whether they are registered or not, they are not registered, are run by these people that we say didn't go to school. So that's where the force is.
Yes.
So if you want to communicate with them and you speak English, you're not communicating with anybody, largely. People can put up the argument, but that's not it, because we see the results. You see, 27th December, there were a lot of music programs throughout December in Ghana, big ones. But people still found time to come to our business and finance seminar. Why? Because of the value that they gain. The value. And you can see the confidence, you can see the light in their eyes. Why? Because everybody wants to be counted. And the way to change people's life is by bringing new knowledge to their minds, or to them, so that their mind can switch. And one of the signs that you can see that minds of people are being switched or have been switched is the confidence that they start to exhibit. Because when people are confident in themselves, then they know that they don't have to wait for somebody to give them some kind of assistance. They can stand up on their own and build with whatever that they have. And there's no better way to communicate this than to communicate this in our language, the one language that many of us speak, which is not really English, but it's P, actually.
So what are some of the core lessons that you are teaching people who are saying, I don't know where to start. I don't have much resources, but I want a better life, which most of us want a better life than where we are right now.
If you go to any African country, especially West Africa, the rich people, almost all the rich people you see, many of them don't have higher education. And many of them, their businesses did not even have to go through business plan and investment, an analysis. They just had desire to start from where they are.
Okay.
And we are saying that the money is in the culture. The money is where you are. It's in the community. It's on the ground. So the very things that your grandparents were doing, if you pay attention, you can provide the same solutions and pick yourself from there.
Okay.
So we are just teaching our people that there is some kind of financial intelligence that you need. That may not necessarily come from the books and the classroom. Because what they are teaching you in the classroom is so that you can go and look for a job. But what you need to create wealth is different. So you can be an accountant, finance expert, but you're just using the certificate to work for somebody. What we are trying to do is teach wealth creation by yourself with what you have. And so we are telling the farmer that you can build from there if you have the right financial intelligence or the financial skills and the commitment to manage your money. So we are saying that managing money or creating wealth from where you are is not something superstitious. As many of our people would want to believe that the blessing is somewhere, and some people are born to be lucky to be wealthy, and some people are born not to be lucky. We are saying that it's systemic,
Okay.
it's process. And if you study the pattern, every one of us with the right information can do something at any level that we want to be. So those are the things that we break down in the minds of our people. The human mind said that you should be able to train people to think in structures and systems. Sadly, the education that this people who came to say that they came to civilize us, they brought was to shut down their ability to think in systems and structures. They just gave us things to remember and to regurgitate. They didn't give us tools so that you can see a pattern and form one yourself. And we are saying that we have to bring that kind of thinking to the ordinary who has not been in the classroom. And even if they have been in the classroom, they have to challenge whatever they were taught and to think beyond the script so that they can create their own solutions. Case in point, why would the university, somebody who has been in the university, agriculture engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and after 5 years, you're saying that after school you don't have a job. So what kind of education were you giving? That your mother, who did not go to school, has been able to sell on the market for 30 years. And you have been to the university and you have come home, you're at home for 5 years and you're saying that you can't find a job. It means that you're not able to think on your feet to solve problems. And that kind of education is what we are challenging. And the bomb is just like a seal, some blinds. Once you're able to get those blinds off, be able to see. And those are the very things that we teach or talk about in our seminars. In our seminars, people who have been reading our materials, feeding on the things that we teach, they come to share the switch of mind that they have had, the businesses that they have built, the financial improvement that they have seen. Some of them even talk of the marriages that have been healed, because when the money is solved, a lot of things are solved.
That is true.
Yes, a lot of our people living abroad are now looking at Ghana, looking at our country in a different light, because you've been programmed to see ourselves as a poor people, negative, and many of our people with that proper information will say that they are very fortunate to live outside because they think that we are poor. And I say that the poverty tag on Africa is an illusion. It's not true. We've been made to believe that we are poor, which is not true. And so we challenge that so that the person who spent 15 years, 20 years abroad building a house that they will never live in will start to see how they can create revenue from that investment. And that will mean that they start to see Ghana, Nigeria, Togo as a place to be, not a place that is poor and struggling. So we start to see ourselves in a positive light. Because when people are not seeing positivity and they live in paranoia, there's not much that they can do for themselves and for their own people. And so those are the things that we are trying to say, challenge the core beliefs that we've been groomed upward. That I'm a graduate, I'm doing cleaning in England, and I'm better than somebody who is teaching in Ghana. It's not true. Life goes beyond just you getting some pounds or some dollar that you really don't have anything saved, because you can't go 2 months without your salary. You're not rich. You're just surviving. Right. And so dignity is part of life. So if you are with all your education, you are working somewhere and every day you are sad, you are saying that challenge that kind of thought. You're not born to be a slave and a servant for somebody. You are born to live in dignity. And you cannot restore that until your memory as an African is restored. And that will be restored when you start to read much of the history that were not written by those who sought to, subjugate us. And that kind of history is really not taught in our schools, actually. Dr. Nkrumah's book, for instance, are not exposed in our books, in our schools in Ghana. Why? Look at the brilliance of the man. And somebody is saying that his books are dangerous. No, his books are keys to open the minds of the Africans. So history, they say, is the foundation of education. And so if your sense of history is wrong, your education is wrong. And you cannot find, people cannot identify themselves if they have wrong sense of history. And somebody said that of all the education that you need, history is the most important, because on it everything else is built. So people's sense of their heritage, of their history, of their ancestry, of their tradition, if it's impaired, you can control those people forever. And that's what they sought to do to the Africans. And so if you never see any great African who speaks well and who is fighting for his people, who does not have proper sense of African history. And so we combine all this in assemblies, and we are saying that we teach them largely in our language, so that the people's sense of identity, sense of being is restored. And then we tell them that you can use business to create your own work. You don't have to be employed. And if wherever village that you are, you can create solutions from there because human beings are there. And then with proper financial information, you can organize your finances. You can think in systems and you can build work from any industry at all. So it doesn't matter the level of your education, you can educate yourself. Because really the education that you need to face life is not in any classroom. There's no one course anywhere that is enough to bring the best in any human being. And so that's why we teach personal development, personal growth. And once you're able to put all these things together, you see that life is not that frustrating at all. And I think it's fulfilling because one significant thing that you see a lot of them say is that I doubted myself, but now I'm bold. I've had lecturers, professors, some of them working some of these multinationals. They tell you that, Obeng, when I started watching your videos, some of them living in where you are. Now I go to meetings and I'm able to speak up because there were information that were hidden. Now they are digging. Some of them are asking me books, history particularly, and they're able to stand up and speak as human beings, not out of disrespectfulness, but at least as full human beings as they're supposed to act. And I think these are the things that open the hearts and minds of our people.
So I can hear some of our listeners now saying, you've mentioned Kwame Nkrumah's books. One that comes to mind immediately would be Neocolonialism. But are there any other books that you would recommend to our listeners and our viewers to listen to read?
The other time I'm reading Africa Must Unite. I'm told he wrote more than 16 books. So a lot of his
Yes.
books, yes, consciousness or conscientiousnism. He wrote another very intelligent one. I think all of us must, and that's why they said that is the African of the millennium, and they were not wrong.
And what they did was really try to keep his books away from the people and to label
Yes,
them as dangerous. Yes.
exactly, because they know or they knew that that is where freedom is. Freedom really is in the mind.
Yes.
If the mind is free, the body will be free. And how do you free the mind without proper knowledge, proper
Yes.
information? And so they know that if the way lies enter a man's soul, it's through his mind, the knowledge that is brought to them. And
So
so,
you would definitely say one of the key things people need to change in 2026 is, what are you taking into your mind?
yes, especially as the way you see yourself as African.
Mm-hmm.
If you find yourself speaking negatively all the time about Africans and about Africa, you're in darkness. It's not that you are being realistic. You are not being realistic. You are just reflecting the programming. And the programming sought to make us not, love our continent, our people, respect our people, and even accept our people. That is the programming. And that's why the average African who has been educated outside these things, always when you see them, African leaders are corrupt, Africans are corrupt, Africa is backward. It's a programming that they are reflecting. That is not a reality. So once you are able to see the root cause of the way our people talk and behave, then you can heal them. So there's something we call intellectual humility. You should be able to say that maybe let me just read further and see. Don't shut down when you hear these things. If you're so interested in the development of Africa, it's not going to come from these institutions that they set. No, they've been around for all these years. If they will bring freedom, you know them. Development will not come from them. Development will come from the minds of the Africans that have been reshaped away from what they sought to do to our minds. And so once an African is up, they will not go through the desert to get to Libya to Italy. They will not pass through Mexico trying to get to America because that is where that they think they will become somebody relevant. No, and they will not see it as an advantage because I practice as a medical doctor in New York. No. And you will not say that my people back home are suffering because there's no opportunity there. If there's no opportunity here, look at all the companies around the world. Almost every one of them, and their sources in Africa. If there is poverty here, why are they here?
Why are they here?
So it's the information.
I was looking at some of the information that the attendees of your seminar shared. It's really mind blowing. Richard Awuni said, "Knowledge is spiritual. You can't grow without a skill.
Yeah.
People who are growing are producers. These are things that they're saying they learned
Yes.
from attending your growth, your financial growth seminar. Samuel Ansah said, growth is intentional. Take responsibility and set your income goal. Here in the United States, we tend to feel, especially since many people are employed, I have no options. It's what it is. This is what they pay me, so that's all I can be. Timam Mavis says, produce what is important. Set your priorities right. Growth will make you fulfilled, focused, productive, and make sure you're constantly learning.
Wow.
Dream and take action. Someone else said growth is systematic. Someone else said, I noticed we did not spend a lot of time praying. We are learning and taking action. And those of you who grew up in Africa will understand why that person said that. Because a lot of times we're not taking any action, we're just praying. And someone else said, you have to work on your consciousness as an African. You have to shift away from the colonial mentality. Growth is a decision, growth is intentional, and you must have your goals. What else would you say to someone there's so much information here, who is saying, this 2026 has to be my year of change economically. So one of the first things we've said is you need to change your mindset. You need to be reading. You need to change that colonial mindset because history is foundational. What would be the next step that you would share with them?
Your finances won't change until you become that person that can change the finances. It won't change until you become. It means that you develop your capacity within. And much of it will mean that you must re-educate yourself financially. The reason many people suffer financially is because of lack of financial education, lack of financial intelligence, financial wisdom. And so the money that we have, the decisions that we're making with them, they reflect our finances. It's a scale. To have financial freedom or financial allowance or control or strength or stability is a skill, and it's built over time. And you can only build those because you have proper financial information. And it's constant acquisition of financial information. Just as you eat all your life, you must have proper financial or proper information all your life. There's no place for rest. And so if 2026 is going to change, it can only change because you have changed mind. And you can't have changed mind until you have proper financial information. And so I would say that you start with the seed, which is the knowledge. So go and put yourself in that, the knowledge that will make you think differently. If $1 is in your hand, what are you going to use it for? The value that you see with that. Are you able to structure your money? Are you able to plan? Are you able to set some goals? Are you able to even have some kind of emotional control over your money? Are you able to fight all this debt? Because as a matter of fact, you can't create wealth when you are consuming in consumer debt, credit card debt, all these car loans, and you cannot create wealth like that. You can only create wealth when you have money that you're investing. And as a matter of fact, finance, from my perspective in Ghana, is any money that comes to me, I don't have to spend first. I have to pick the seed that I'm planting first before I spend the rest. Just like the farmer. The farmer must keep the seed for the next season before they start to eat, or there's no future. And so every money that comes to our hands is a seed. And so we must protect some. So you keep some money and you put in things that will grow that money. And over time, you don't have to work anymore for you to eat because the seed that you planted is now bearing fruit. So wherever that you're putting your money in, you must have some kind of understanding in it. Whether it's business, it's agriculture, whether it's real estate, whatever area that you're investing money in, you must have basic knowledge in that. And you must have some bit of control and say. You cannot just put your money in hands where people are making a lot of decisions that you don't have any say. It means that you never get out of that, quagmire, financial difficulties, because then you don't have any say on your money and where it is spent. So these are things that you learn over time. And as you continue to learn, even if your situation is not changing, don't worry, continue to consume the information. because it's coming from the decisions that you'll be making. And once you continue to consume, there's a time that your mind is corrected. The same person that will not have any excess anyway, you start to have excess because now you're thinking differently when you get money. So how you make money, how you save money, how you multiply money, all these things are coming from whoever that you have become. So your capacity, your financial capacity, really, the best form of financial investment is the knowledge that you have as a person who is making those investments. Because if those investments are not working well, it's because you don't have some kind of intelligence in that. So it's not in the knowledge to build on your own. We must have them ourselves. There is no place that they are trying to teach anybody how to create financial freedom. The system is set that you work for them all your life. And so for you to break loose from those, it means that you cannot feed on their knowledge. And you cannot even feed on their system, I dare say. And that's why, for instance, Nigerians, Ghanaians, look back. The $10,000 in your hand can get a land. Yes, you can have any. Some people come from places where there are cattle, and you have been in America all these years. Your grandfather was a cattle owner, and you have not won because you are scared that people will steal from you. But the stock market is always stealing from you, and it's still there. so
That's true.
That's right. So
True.
in your village, maybe you can build a market for them, a toilet for them. We should think. We should not just look at the difficulties that we meet trying to offer these solutions, but the returns as well. So we must have a way to make sure that our investments on our motherland become fruitful. And if you're so determined and we culturalize our knowledge, we will be able to get solutions. Many times we just want to superimpose the knowledge that we have had from somewhere here, and that's where there is some bit of conflict. You come to learn here because you could not go. I cannot come from Ghana to America and try to superimpose Ghana's systems and ideologies on America and expect those things to work. No, the same thing when you come. There are a lot of things here that you have to learn how they work, and many times you can learn them from those who have been here for all these years who are successful.
Yes. One of the quotes that I saw from you, you said that if you're consistent in 10 years in that good thing that you are doing, that you would definitely see a return on that consistency. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
I think knowledge compounds, skills compounds. Any effort that you put in anything compounds over time. And so if first year is not worked, continue. Second year, all that you need is you learning, finding ways to make it work. But don't just leave because first 2, 3, 4 years didn't work. As a matter of fact, you will not see any person who's an expert in anything. Just 1 year. I don't think. Maybe AI will know if you help you with that. So really, it takes time. Some things take time. So it takes time for you to build expertise. It takes time for you to build wealth. For many of us, if there is any deviation, maybe, but many of us, it will take time for us to build the right network, even the right industry expertise. You are a lawyer. I mean, does it take 1 year for you to build all this network and expertise?
No.
No.
Yeah. And a lot of what has allowed me to scale as quickly is because of the network I had even before I started. Yes.
That's it. Yes. And so I think it's the same with any other area of life, especially finance as well. It takes time for us to build it. So you don't give yourself less than 10 years, I dare say, for you to say that, okay, maybe it's not working. But I also know that many of us, if you're malleable and you stay with anything, any dream that is worthy, they work eventually.
Okay.
They work.
So, as you were talking and you were talking about the majority of the economy in most African nations, and I would say probably most nations of the world, but let's talk about African nations and really African people across the world. It's not, we're not participating in the banking, the financial institutions, the IMF, all of that. And yet when you look at the amount of the percentage of the GDP of our nations that is used to service debt that we are getting from these IMF loans, from these World Bank loans, I'm concerned that so much of our resources are being spent on projects that apparently are not really trickling down and assisting the average person in our countries. From your viewpoint, how do we even begin to address this?
Uh,
Because the work you're doing is getting to the grassroots, which is really, these are the ones holding up the economy. And yet, we are being saddled with debt for these major projects, roads, things like that, that are really designed to extract our resources and send them out. And the money, we're borrowing money that is paid out to foreigners, and yet we're servicing those debts. How do you see this impacting our growth, our sustainability long term?
so if you look at Ghana 1957, 1956, they said that Ghana did not have independence. 1957, Ghana gets independence. And the structure, whether it's the laws that they're using, the constitution, the education, the religion, everything is not really designed by the Ghanaians themselves. And I think it's the same with other African countries. A day before the independence, after the independence, because these structures, these institutions and these countries that were part of this colonization have never sought to leave. They only changed their method. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't think that they really left Africans alone. I think that we're just in a different form of controls. And some of these institutions that you mentioned, that is their duty anyway. And so when the same people who are trying to keep you at this level are trying to, the ones that are marking you, I don't think that they will ever say that this country is not doing well, not the African ones. So I think that the more we put the light on the masses, because that's where the problem is. The guys that they have trained, the Kenyan that went to Yale, Harvard, who has come back and says that he knows how to create an economy to make us free. You know that the things that they were taught there, they cannot use those things to build a nation, that to free many of our people, because they
Mm-hmm.
just follow the same path anyway. And if
Yes.
that were not true, then they should have been able to do it. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
because they are so much unintelligent or corrupt. It's because of the systems and structures that they meet.
Mm-hmm.
These are not excuses. These are the realities. How do you judge a whole country, Ghana? They say that this is the size of the economy. And then you pick one company from these countries, is 10 times the size of the whole economy. How much is the debt that we even work on?
Mm-hmm.
So let's face it, the metrics that they are using to judge us, they will always make us little and small, and people who can easily be overcome. And so I will say that the masses, if they understand the game, then the few ones that are at the top that are working will eventually sit up. And so the way this system has been able to keep on going is because the masses were not enlightened. And so once we're able to enlighten the masses in terms of finance, in terms of the global politics, in terms of the history, the average person understanding this, then they can understand why we are where we are and why we must protect what we have. So the people that they have educated will be very difficult for us to convince them unless they are re-educating themselves. But once they're very comfortable with the kind of education they've been given, they can break freedom. They can just keep the status quo and
Mm-hmm.
run the elections and make sure that the wealth of the countries are in the hands of these multinationals who are controlled by them anyway. But to make sure that the gold in Ghana is benefiting the ordinary citizen, the diamond, the timber, that kind of redesign will not come from the guy who went to study economics from any university. It will come from the one who has discovered himself.
Okay, I have two more questions for you, and then anything else that you want to share. One of the things I've also heard you talk about is the importance of people knowing exactly how much income they have if they want to increase how much they make. Why is that even important?
If you don't know how much you make, then you will lose everything because then you spend. Or that comes to you. Many times, many people who struggle financially are not even aware of how much money that comes to them every month or every year. The average person does not know, even those on salary, because even if you're on salary, there are other things that you do. I'm talking of Ghana.
Mhm.
So let's say I'm a teacher, but
No,
the
no.
other
What
things.
what you're saying applies. It applies right where I am as well,
Okay.
because people get money in different ways. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And so you should be able to say that from January to December, every month I was making this. And so if I put everything together this year, I made this. And you should be able to also tell us that this money that I made, this is how I spent them. So that you can measure. Can you we are builders. Everything that you're doing, there's a measure on it. Then you can have it. You can't build anything if you are not using the basic scientific laws. And measuring is part of it.
Mhm.
And so you can't build your finances properly if you really don't know how much money comes to you and how much money goes out of you. You
Very
can't do it.
simple.
Yeah, you can't. It's very difficult because you see, some people even borrow. They're doing
Mhm.
business, they borrow, and they turn around to say that, oh, and now I don't even see where my money has gone to. But the interest rate on that loan is very high. And so even though you're making profit, you are paying the bank.
Yes.
And it's just because you don't have your numbers right. That's why you are looking for the money. And that's why the superstition will come in. Somebody from our village is doing it because every money that I make, I can't find it. But then you took a loan, which is 5% a month. So that's where the money is going. So once you're able to track it, those things can make you make good judgment because then you know what you can afford and what you cannot afford.
Well, I'm in court daily where I see people who have signed loans for 26, 27, 20. We actually have credit cards where your credit card interest payment is 29%.
Wow.
Yes. And then you have what we consider late fees. And so, someone says, well, I don't understand where this came from. Well, you paid your bill one day late, and so there was an additional $40 fee that was charged. And then you had a balance on your account until yes, and people are very surprised how it adds up
Wow.
over
And so
time.
if you take 10,000 and you default, you can easily go to 15.
Yes, sir. And it happens all the time. We see it a lot with car loans where people sign, they default on the cars are repossessed, the cars are sold, but typically for less, because once you buy a car, it depreciates. Once you
Mhm.
drive the car off the lot, it depreciates. So they repossess the car, they sell it, and people think because they took the car back, I'm fine. But really, the car is sold for less than what you owe on it.
So you still owe.
You still owe, and then the interest on it, and then they charge you a repossession fee and the cleaning fee and everything. And people come like, they have the car. Why do I still owe 15,000? Why do I still owe 20,000? Yes. And legally you sign the documents and you have to pay.
Wow.
Or in your yes. And so people do need to pay attention to that. All right. So the last question that I had for you is, I also noticed that you were very much involved with the African Summit and the focus on a united Africa in terms of what we are doing financially. We know that Kwame Nkrumah also championed the concept of a United States of Africa, which was defeated, unfortunately. What is your take as we talk about Black economic independence? What is your take on us being able to get beyond these artificial borders and really being able to work together to truly achieve economic independence?
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. You follow. Wow. I didn't know. That summit was organized by a friend, Mana. She's a lawyer as well. She was born in Ethiopia, but she moved to America maybe as a baby, as a child. And so she's seeking to bring a shift in education on the continent and the diaspora as well. And so I think we just have to understand that so long as we keep respect between us or amongst ourselves, we can work together. And one thing I see is that we must also give a lot of honor to the indigenous knowledge.
Mhm.
we should not just come and say that we want to globalize you, civilize you, lift you to a standard. That shifts the game. And so I see that any one of us who comes with some bit of sobriety is able to work with us more. And I think that's what we need, because we already been tagged wrongly, and so subconsciously a lot of our people will see our brothers and sisters outside as, but there's still something that those of us who are here have. And so when you're coming, you come with something, no doubt, but come with the thinking that you come with your equals.
Mm-hmm.
We're just looking at the same thing from different angle. And as a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, the world treats us the same anyway. Because
Yes.
yes, they treat
Yes.
us anyway the same. And so we
Yes.
might as well work together. And we come from the same place and we are the same people anyway. And so I would say that we can work together, and we must work together, but we must work with understanding and knowing that coming from uh, so-called developed place does not really put us above anybody. And so if we are able to do that, then we can work together. Many times I don't subscribe to the idea that, oh, I'm exposed. The guy working in Kumasi is localized, but many companies in where you are also localized. But the Africans are being pushed to say that let's go global. And yet many companies don't even move from one state to the other, and nobody is putting any pressure on them. And
This
so
is true.
once our solutions can solve our primary problems, I think many of us will be okay. So let's see, what can we do here? What can we build together? And let's speak the same language if we can.
And certainly we see that these multinational corporations understand the value of being in Africa, understand the value. You look at Total and they're in multiple countries. You look at, most of these mining corporations or the banking industry, and they're in multiple countries, and they don't care about the borders. And so we too need to understand the importance of sharing our knowledge and
Mhm.
working together, and the ways that we can help to resolve our own issues if
Yeah,
we would share our information. I look at even the sense of our resources. When you look at, for instance, OPEC, the idea of coming together and being able to say we will set the price for our product. If African countries as a whole were to come together and say we will collectively set the price for our cocoa or our coffee or our tea or our shea butter or things of that nature, and you cannot play us against each other, we will be in a much different place,
it's true.
even in terms of some of the security issues that we're facing. And so I really
No,
appreciate the work that you're doing. Yes,
wow.
sir. Please go ahead.
No, it's true. It's true. The only problem is that the Africans must be Africans. So the Africans must be Africans, and it's tough to know them just by how they look.
Mm.
You can only know the Africans by their choices. Because
Can you, yeah, say more about that.
some of them represent us, and they don't represent our interest. They are quick to defend everybody but us and work for everybody but us.
And
They are
that is
quick to
and that
agree
is
with,
that colonial mentality.
yes, and some of them are well educated, holding big portfolio,
Yes.
but their negotiations, this is not an African,
Yes.
because they work with fear and they want to make sure that some people are happy, not us.
Yes.
And if you find them as top positions, that's danger.
Yes.
And so I think the Africans that can lift Africa are the Africans who are Africans, which means that they agree mentally, they know what they want, and they're able to identify what is our interest, and they're able to put us where we have to be put, you know. And they hold us in high esteem,
Mm-hmm.
and they are not afraid to speak where they have to speak. And I think those are the minds that we can work with. And I dare say that they are not many.
That is unfortunate, but you are changing that because, again, just reading from the testimonials from people. I saw a teacher who said they are now harvesting rice. I saw another young man who said, I now have a 4-acre plantain farm, a 2-acre
Yeah.
coconut farm, and an orange farm. I
Hey.
started a small spare parts shop,
Yes.
and sales has improved from 130,000 to 310,000 in 2 years, which means
Hey.
he's also employing people.
Yeah.
I worked with a young man who has an engineering degree in Nigeria. He was working as a police officer because he could not find a job in his field. And he told me he has great welding skills, and he wanted to open up a shop, but he did not have the resources. And he said, I've been, saving my salary and buying a few tools here and there. And he contacted me at one point and he said, I have the one major thing he needed because of the electricity issues in Nigeria, it was a generator. And he had found a generator that someone needed to sell very quickly for a really great price, but he didn't have the money. And I said, I will give you the money. I'm not asking for anything in return or anything. And I did not think anything about it after I gave him that money. About maybe 2 years later, I went for my mother's celebration of her 80th birthday. He found me and he said, I want you to know that for the first time, I'm not begging anybody for school fees, for those of you in America, for tuition for his children. As you said, marriages change when money is good. He said, my wife is doing great. And he said he now takes on apprentices and he does not charge them. And he
Wow.
tells them, somebody invested in me for free,
Wow.
and I'm investing in you as well. And he said he has so much work, he has opened another welding shop. And one of his
Wow.
apprentices is now running that shop. And
Wow.
so there is a lot of opportunity, but we have to believe in ourselves. We have to make those investments and stop this conspicuous consumption that we do so much of. Always buying and consuming instead of building and solving our own problems. But I see so many of the testimonials from the lives that you are changing, and I know that it is only going to continue to spread. So I thank you for the work that you're doing. So for those who are listening who are saying, how can I get involved with your seminars? How can I attend? How can I get copies of your book? How do they plug into you? How can they find you?
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. This is sales systems. I don't think you have, and this is real estate. And let me see. This is the financial systems that we're talking about. Books are on Amazon.
Okay.
We type my name Obeng Darko or Kwabena Obeng Darko, and books are there. Those who want to attend our seminars, once you send us a message or you go to our YouTube or Facebook, you send us a message there, you can get to us. Obeng Darko on TikTok as well. Sadly, we speak P many times, but once in a while, I go on other podcasts where it's entirely English like yours.
Yes.
So we can blend, I believe in the foundation being set and then we can extend it. We
Yes.
shouldn't leave a lot of our people behind. I don't think
Yes.
so. And thank you for investing in that engineer. And that's what we have to do. And you see his heart as well. He's also lifting others. And I
Yes.
think one at a time. We cannot give up on ourselves. No matter how many times that we've been betrayed or let down, we still have to find a way to understand that we have a lot to deal with as a people. So even to have our mental frame set rightly is a whole big job, from religious teachings to almost everything. So to really have your mind to think as a human being and be in control of your own life is tough for the African. And
Yes.
it's so true, you know.
Yes.
And so once you understand that and you're patient with us, then we can build. And we can build.
Yes.
So it really does not matter how many times you've been let down trying to do something in Nigeria. We still have to find a way to go back and do something. It doesn't
Yes.
matter how many times we've been let down building something in Ghana. We still have to find a way to make sure that we build something. Once we have life, there's no way that we don't have to build. And there's no
I know
place to
I've
go.
been let down building here in the United States in the Black community, and we cannot give up either. We
That's
cannot give
right.
up. Cannot give up on
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so that's my philosophy. If you're let down, we find another way, a better way to make sure that we build. And that calls for leadership. And proper understanding of our situation will make us resilient, and to lift our people up. And really, nobody is going to lift us up.
that is right.
We are the ones to do that. And so there's no greater cause than to share knowledge and to bring enlightenment to the Africans, wherever they are. And I think that beyond the English and the French, we must bring all these things down to the languages that the people speak every day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for staying up late to be with us. And please, everyone who is listening, who is watching, leave a comment. Definitely go to the TikTok, go to his YouTube, go to Facebook, plug in. It's the beginning of the year. You have no excuse not to commit and to grow, so that at the end of 2026, you are not still where you were at the beginning of 2026. This is your call, where you want to be, but it's going to require you to have that growth mindset. And you have a teacher right here available to do it. He has done it many times. He is a proven factor. You can't go wrong with his teachings. And thank you again, sir, for joining us here at Rethinking Freedom.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.